Where is InsurTech headed next? This is where indie agents own the answer. Welcome to the Vertifor Insurance Podcast. Let's go. Welcome back, insurance industry, to another episode of the Vertifor Insurance Podcast. I am really excited to have you here today because we're going to get our hands dirty. We are going to dig into some ground level tactics on how to improve sales performance. One of the biggest questions that I get is, Sid, how do I generate leads online? How do I find the right businesses or individuals that are most likely to be interested in my business model, my products, what I'm selling? And that's a tough question to answer, but Dean Giem, the founder of Paradox Insurance, and Liri and Scott from Leo, a hard-charging tech startup, are here to help us answer those questions today. So without further ado, Dean Giem, we've got the founder of Paradox Insurance with us today. We're very excited to have you. Dean and I have actually known each other for a little bit here since I've joined Vertifor. He has been on the board of NetView, a network of Vertifor users, for almost 6 years now. He's the immediate past chair, so he's done his time, and we definitely appreciate his service. We're sad to see you go, but thank you for coming on for a last hurrah and sharing some secrets under the curtain of what you're doing and how you're moving your agency forward.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. It's not a last hurrah. This is just we're getting ready to rock. So,
all right,
really excited about it, and thanks for having me on. This is something that's really near and dear to my heart. When we start talking InsurTech, especially when we look at the small agencies or the micro agencies like ours, it's something that's fun. It's exciting, and I love this space. So I'm really happy to be here and share with you and the viewers and listeners what we're doing and how we're doing it and why. So thanks again. Really appreciate it.
We also have with us today Liri Halperin Segal, CEO and founder of Leo, and Scott Angel, the VP of Sales. Liri, hello. Are you joining us from Israel by chance, or are you in the U.S.?
No, I'm actually in Israel.
You
now.
are.
It's 8 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be here and see you all. It was great to see you all like 2 weeks ago in Accelerate. And it's always great to meet Dean again and you, Sid. So thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you for coming in from Israel. That's quite a Zoom call. Wonderful. Well, it's great to have you, and we're excited to hear a little bit more about Leo. Scott, the man in charge, what's up? How are you? We've known each other since, a few years, since back when I was at Be Atomic, and, we were in the AMS space side of things.
Yeah, yeah, we had our weekly calls, didn't we, Sid? I enjoyed them.
Yes.
Great, so.
Yes.
And yes, great seeing Dean here a couple weeks back, and Liri. She flew in, I think, on Sunday and left on Wednesday. So it's always great to spend time with Liri, but I appreciate putting this podcast together, Sid. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great to have you. All right, Dean, let's get into it. Tell me a little bit about Paradox Insurance's journey with InsurTech. Bring me back to the beginning days of when you said, you know what, I don't really want to do things the way they've always been done anymore. I want to try something different. Where did you take and how did you take that first step forward?
I mean, it's really a great question, and I don't know that it's ever been a first step. It's always been think outside the box for me. It's challenge status quo. So with Paradox specifically, it gave me a really good opportunity to embrace that mindset. It was a scratch agency, kind of a step back from scratch. When I left my last organization, I not only made a career change, but I kind of shook my life box upside down, and I moved to northwestern Montana out of Denver Metro. So I knew two other people. It was really a great place to step into and step around a lot of muck and find out where we wanted to be. Obviously, starting with our core, which is a Vertifor AMS 360 product, looking at some of the other ancillaries that they have, and tying that side of things into our mindset, which is really client experience, customer experience. That's number one. And then number two is our internal staff experience. So taking those two pieces of our foundation and then identifying how do we get this done? What do we do to accomplish those objectives? It's technology first. Can we use technology to build the relationship, enhance that experience, make it Amazon-esque or McDonald's-like as far as speed and efficiency? Not the gunk that goes along with it, but how do we maximize what we can do through technology to accomplish those goals? And then we start looking at some other facets, our staffing and how that works. But it's about having the right partners, and the right partners for us won't be the right partners for everybody else. And so we talk to a lot of partners, we interview them, we work with them, we look at where they're at, where they're going, and we talk roadmaps, we talk about pricing. We have to. We're a bootstrap agency, a beer budget wine taste mentality. And so we've got to look at all these different facets, and so that all kind of comes back and culminates in where we go and how we identify our partners. And we also need to make sure we're exchanging data. That data has to go from piece A to piece B and back to C, and then possibly back to A again, and then make sure it's consistent and deliverable across all platforms. So there's some bumps, there's some bruises, but we're small enough to be able to accommodate those. We're small enough to be a sandbox for a lot of organizations like Leo, but we're also big enough and knowledgeable enough that we know when things are wrong, we know when things are right, and we can push and challenge that to make it better for them, better for us and our clients, and then better for the industry at the end of the day. So that's kind of where we're at, kind of that mindset and what we're looking for as we move forward.
Wonderful. So
does that answer your question?
That was an answer with a capital A. Let me step back on timeline for a sec. So you said you moved out of the Denver metro area into the rugged wilderness of Montana, possibly next to, who's the guy from Yellowstone? I can't remember his name. You kind of might look like him, actually, now that if you put a cowboy hat, I could see maybe some similarities there. So into Montana, when was that? And did you found the agency in Denver and move it to Montana, or did you found it once you moved to Montana?
It's kind of a blur. So in early 19, late 18, I knew it was time for me to make a change.
Okay.
So I worked with the team that I was currently a part of. We created an exit strategy. I knew what was happening by July of 2019. So I spun up on paper, Paradox Insurance Agency, July 5th of 2019. Wow. That was my Independence Day.
Wow.
I moved to Montana September 3rd or Labor Day weekend of 2019. Got my boots on the ground, literally and figuratively. Started to go out, shake hands, and meet people. I showed up to my first Chamber of Commerce event and realized that you don't wear ties and suit jackets to a Montana event. So, I learned a lot. I learned it quick. And it's not just business. We look at Denver Metro being over 3 million in population. I stepped into a state that had 1.2 million and probably twice the land, acreage. So wow. It was a big move, a big change. But, I knew that insurance didn't have to be brick and mortar. I knew insurance could be different. Insurance is insurance for the most part. I realize that's a broad brush statement. But, from ground up, we were really looking at how can we be remote-esque? How can we be digital? How can we be all things, not all things, but meet our clients where they're at when they're there? Especially when you look at that population density, and it takes us a little while to travel. So we need to be able to do things remote. Yeah. So we were kind of pre-pandemic prepped.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, I can imagine hopping on a Zoom call versus driving, to the next city down is probably quite a different commute. So I hear what you're saying when you say, I want to, we moved to Montana, but I still wanted to be able to, insure or serve those from other states. So I'm assuming you had a lot of connections in Denver and needed to be able to, provide them with a service and accommodate them, but while being in Montana. would you say that your book of, like, what was your strategy, I guess, as you moved your life, your personal life, your professional life, started a business? It's a lot of change all at once. Would you say that your your strategy was to kind of stay in Denver without necessarily staying in Denver, if that makes sense, or were you?
I think originally it was to accommodate Denver, but I was really focused on growing in the Montana terrain. I mean, I really wanted to grow in this market and be able to supply and support the market in Montana. And through that, like I said, I learned a lot. And one of those things I learned was that I probably still needed to keep some pretty deep roots in other territories. So Colorado's our number 2 state. Believe it or not, Arizona is our number 3. So we still get a lot of snowbirds transferring. People love the Montana summers, but they don't necessarily like those minus 29 degree winters. Not everything you see on Yellowstone is reality. So,
What? No.
Yeah. So we changed the script a little bit here in reality.
Yeah.
But so it was something I recognized and realized. So we have kept a lot of technology available. We started off with, a focus in the marketplace. We obviously had to pivot and shift like many agencies did, many businesses did, and continue to grow that business in Colorado because of the roots, the background, and the history there. So a lot of time on Zoom calls. And if you knew me in my early days, there was a lot of time in the truck. So I would take Zoom calls from the passenger seat of the truck and, out sitting next to the rivers or, the barns or whatever it was that we needed to do to get business done.
Wow, that's amazing. So your tech stack is really important, it sounds like, and finding the right, here's what I know after seeing under the hood of a lot of agencies' tech stacks. If you've seen one independent agency, you've seen one independent agency. And if you've seen one independent agency's tech stack, same thing. The question that I think a lot of people run into is, how do I know what's right for my business as I get into this, as I start down this path? Because sometimes there's overlap with tech, sometimes there's integration challenges. Sometimes it's just there's unique technology, which I would say Leo is as Scott was showing it to me the other day, I mean, I saw Leo 3 years ago, and the point at which it's evolved today, it really is something special. It kind of crosses a lot of different core competencies in a way, but has a lot of integration opportunity, which makes it pretty powerful. So, it's hard to know, like, if you're getting into this world, who do you look at and who do you look for, and how do you kind of piece this thing together? So when you went out, obviously it sounds like you got the standard core, hey, I need an agency management system to put my policy data in for E&O, to send certificates, document management, et cetera. I need some sort of rating system, right? I might need a sales pipeline. After you get past that, now we're getting into some maybe unknown no man's land territory where you could do a lot of different things, form solutions and solutions like Leo. How did you start to put that together?
I think the biggest piece is identifying what the pain point is. Knowing where that's at, and being a somewhat. I use the term micro agency. It's really obvious where pain points are at, and so identifying those, and then saying, can our existing tech stack resolve that? Can it fix that? Really being engaged with what you have, maximize what you have first. And if that doesn't solve it, then you step into what are the solutions that are available in the marketplace. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of competition out there. We've seen in the last 4 years, specifically, a lot of people trying to get into that insure tech realm. And not every piece is going to be right. I'll call out another name. Agency Zoom is a product that we use. And it wasn't necessarily our first choice. It wasn't our last choice. We evaluated multiple products in that space to make sure that we were getting where we're at, getting what we wanted to get out of the product. And it was simple. It was easy. It was, even at the time before the acquisition by Vertafore, it was still integrated at a relatively decent position that it made things more simple than what we had previously. So identify that problem, see what you can do to fix it with what you have, and then step into that other space and find a solution. So as we continue to do that, it's identifying again the next pain point. What's the low-hanging fruit? How can we fix things easily, fast, and economically? Because a tech stack in the big picture, things can easily eat up a lot of your revenue, and it does not take long for that to happen, especially if you are chasing shiny objects, because it's contract 1, contract 2, and then you start moving into seats or users. So there's a lot of dynamic to consider as you're making these types of decisions from an agency perspective.
Yeah. When did you and Liri meet? When did you find out about Leo and what they were doing?
So I actually was introduced to Leo by voice and just conversation with another small agency in the upper Northwest. And then it was really, I believe, Liri, it was Denver is the first time, Denver Accelerate for NetView was the first time we actually met face-to-face and had some conversation. And we went ahead and launched the Leo product in Paradox. And even in that space, from the time I was first introduced to it, it wasn't quite ready for us, or we weren't ready for it. But like you said earlier, Sid, it's developed tremendously over the last few years, and specifically in the last few months. I've seen tremendous just growth and change and modernization of that product to fit what we need. And meeting Liri back in March of 2022 at Accelerate in Denver, was a catalyst to us really adopting that platform, taking it in, and starting that relationship that I value, and the way they handle it is exactly in line with what we expect from our vendor partners.
Yeah, I would say, as I've watched InsurTech up and downs, the key indicator of success for me is how close that InsurTech is to the agent. So if you've got an agent or a group of agencies that you talk with every week or every month and check in, hey, how is the product performing inside of your business? I tend to see there's a lot more growth in the right direction, it feels like. So hats off to you guys, Liri and Scott, for making sure you stay close to the agent circle. Tell me a little bit about Leo. Liri, give us the backstory on who you are and why you decided to start this company and what the journey's been like.
Yeah. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. Actually, Leo is my third startup.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't come from, the insurance space, but coming with the knowledge that I have when I first started 5 years ago, I saw that there is so many missed opportunities and so much revenue that just wasn't being generated. And I knew that if an agent would just incorporate the benefit of technology, he can, be in a different level. So this is how we started.
How did you find the insurance industry specifically, though? Because it's kind of I like to say insurance is a hidden gem. Most people don't think about it as, being an industry they want to get, it's not like you wake up at 8 years old and say, I want to be an insurance agent. But once you are one, you're like, man, this was great. What a great move. How did you find insurance specifically in your entrepreneurial ventures?
So I actually wanted to buy a policy from my apartment, and I started to engage with a really nice broker. And this is where I saw the process, and I saw that there is so many things that you can innovate in the process. I really felt like, he's not collecting enough data, he's not analyzing my data. And he can sell a lot more, and he can also make the process a lot more easier for me. And then I started to, investigate. And when I started to work on Leo, and I decided we will only focus on insurance, we started to work also with different agents, and that was crucial. These relationships with the different agents. So it was like Chris Paradiso and Dana Cott from UWIB, and everyone shared with us, data and feedbacks. And also we started to work with Frank Sentner. So like you said, Sid, I think it's crucial to work with the industry. We knew that we will need to develop a product with the producers, for the producers, and this is what we do until today. So, every time that we onboard a new client, and knocking on wood, we have quite a nice number of clients. We do a call with them, an onboarding call with them. We want to hear them. We want to get their feedback. If we see that they're not using it enough, we are asking why. We are calling them. So it's important for us to know exactly what are the reasons that they're using it and why not. And this is the only way for a product like ours to evolve. And Dean gave us valuable feedback over the last year. And even he mentioned agency Zoom. So Dean told us that when he wants to push leads to agency Zoom, he wants to also choose the pipeline. And this is something that we didn't think of because we created the opportunity, the option to just at a click of a button to send leads to agency Zoom. It can save a lot of time and it's super easy to do. But we didn't think about, you also need to choose the pipeline. And then Dean told us about that and we said, this is so smart. And today, you have the option to choose the pipeline. So you need to listen to your users. And this is what we do.
Yes. And it sounds like you would describe your company as a almost like an insurance data company, but maybe not an analytics per se, because you're not necessarily, how would you describe Leo to somebody? I mean, you guys are capturing so much data about prospects and businesses out there, but you're doing it from that insurance lens, which makes it unique. It's not like you're going to Zoom info and, here's an email address and a title that might be right, and that's about all you get. Like, you guys are thinking about what does the insurance salesperson need to know before starting that conversation. And the focus really is data, obviously knowing that there's a technology, SaaS component here as well. But how would you describe what Leo does to the industry?
So Leo is a prospecting tool. We help with top of the funnel. We help with the discovery process. So like you mentioned, we help you to find the right contact in the company. We will give you the phone number, the LinkedIn link, the email. Once you have that, we will also provide you with the business information. So EIN number and the address and other important information that you need to know. But that is not enough. This is where, if you're an insurance agent, this is where you also need the insurance intelligence data.
Yes.
And this is where we will help you with 5500 data, with DOT, OSHA, if that company has, different violations, with the X date. So workers' comp, and we enhancing the data all the time. So we believe that an agent should have all this information in one place. And once you found a prospect that you like, you can just push it to Salesforce or Agency Zoom or other CRMs. Easy as that.
Yeah, I remember working in my dad's office. He has an insurance agency in Florida. And when I would sell, we were mostly in the construction space. So there were certain sites I could go to that were public that would give me, an overview on if there was a, contractor, paper contractor, subcontractor I wanted to go after, how many, what NACE code would they be and how many people and that kind of thing. But two things. One, I was going to at least 10 different sites to put one complete picture together, which takes a lot of time. And two, it was all tribal knowledge. There was no standardized, hey, here's where to go if you want to learn about construction prospects for insurance. It was just the fact that my dad had been in it for so long. He knew where to go and he could tell me. And so I think about, well, what about that producer who comes into a large agency who doesn't have that mentor to tell them where to go? Or even a producer who comes into a mid-sized agency where they don't have the time to sit down and say, these are the sites you should go to, and there's no one place to teach them. They're kind of out of luck, They're walking in, and And it's not that they're a bad producer by any means. They just weren't given the right tools at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
we definitely like to mentor, producers, young producers, and to tell them, what should be their first steps. But not only young producers, because everyone needs this data. Like you said, instead of going to different sites and waste a lot of time gathering this crucial information, we can just provide it to you in a very easy way. And the other thing is that we can also integrate with your AMS 360, for example, with your AMS. So this is where we can learn who are your current clients, and we can build a profile according to that, and we will match you with the right prospect for you, because we have more than 40 million prospects loaded into our system. So you don't even need to, filter and search for the prospect that you want. Leo can just generate a list for you, and this is where you can discover a new prospect that you maybe didn't think about. And no one, it's not like everyone has, a father that is running an agency and can help with that. So this is where we want to help.
Yeah, and I just want to, this is really, really cool. So let's pause here on this. This is the technology of the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Netflixes, all coming down into the insurance industry, right? It was going to happen at some point, and now it's happening. This is where we take that idea or concept of machine learning and we say, we're going to look at, here's your data set. We're going to look for trends, and then we're going to use those trends to make sure that you make smarter decisions so that you're not wasting time. That is, I thank you. That is awesome. It's bound to happen at some point, but it's great to hear it is. So let's get into how Leo is working inside Paradox. And Scott, I know you and Dean have been working together on this, so please feel free to jump in. But how have you guys worked together to make sure that Paradox producers are going after those right prospects and everything's transparent and measurable inside of Agency Zoom at any given time?
Yeah. So I'm going to do this. We all know, I come from an insurance background also. My dad had benefits. My uncle was on the P&C. And one thing I know, after being on site probably 800 agencies over the last decade or so, Sid, you and I go back a few years. We've been in this industry for a while. One thing I know is each insurance agency does things completely different, right? We all spell insurance the same, but we all have our little secret sauce or a way to go on about that. So maybe I'll let Dean talk a little bit about how he's using Leo, and then maybe I'll jump in after that and explain how some of the other folks are using Leo also. Because he has his specific way that he's approaching the market, and Leo's doing a good job for him in that, but it is specific to his agency, which makes Leo unique, right? So.
Yeah, and I think, just to kind of highlight a couple things even that Liri had mentioned is, when we look at this relationship, there's times, she talked about the Agency Zoom, pipeline conversation, but there are times that Scott and I talk, or, we talk with Sar, who's another member of the Leo team, and we make a comment or a suggestion on something, and within hours, even that change has been adopted or changed. So they are fast. They are lightning fast on taking this stuff in. They take it to heart. They listen to their users. The other thing that was talked about is, looking at our existing database. And this has been key and critical for us. I thought at one point, venues and event facilities was going to be like our target market. That's what we were doing. So we were promoting that. But using the Leo system, it really pulled back and said, you guys aren't that at all. But what you are is, you're looking at different types of real estate and those real estate markets versus the events and, venues type markets. So even what we thought we weren't necessarily that, because of the data that Leo has shown us out of our existing system. It gave us a better picture and a realistic picture of who we were. So, that's really key and critical too. So I love the data aspect of what's available. It's easy to read, it's fast, it's effective, and it gives me some insights as to where we want to go and what we want to do. So we start looking at that, those clients, those prospects, and really that prospecting tool has only been open for correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but maybe 6 months, 8 months at the level and the course that it's at. And it's been fun. It's been fun. It's been real exciting to be able to see that whole data based on where we really want to target geographically. So as we talked, we're in multiple states now. So, we want to be able to pull for different producers, whether they're in Des Moines, Iowa, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Las Vegas, Nevada. We want to be able to pull that stuff and get them the right leads for where they're at. And then we can push that, over based on different parameters, whether it's sales volume, employee count, whether it's a CDOT report or 5500s, any of those types of things. And so it's really valuable, and it's been extremely helpful for us as an organization to help drive our producers and give them some direction, especially the newer producers.
So what I'm hearing is, in a matter of minutes, you can go into Leo after it's integrated with your agency management system. You can get an accurate reading of what your niche is. And for those of you who say you don't have a niche, you probably do. You just don't know about it yet. So you can get an accurate reading of that. Maybe it's not what you thought it was. And then you can use the data points around that you've collected around that niche to look for other new prospects that are not in your database that are likely to do business with you based upon that database that you've built out and based upon the current niche that you serve. And then you can, again, within a matter of minutes, identify those people, a complete picture of their insurance, profile, and pull them into a sales pipeline with automated texting, automated email, and start them down a nurture campaign to tee them up for sales.
So
that's exactly it.
We're just getting the podcast right here. That's fantastic.
So you're 100% correct there. To sum this up, I work with a lot of producers, scratch producers, even seasoned producers. We're talking a lot about prospecting. But for that seasoned producer that may not do as much prospecting, with that book of business integration with AMS 360, they can look at things like their X-date reports. They can look at cross-selling opportunities. And then what seasoned producers really like is we have this one-click referral. So what'll happen is the path you were going down, Sid, 100% correct. We take that book of business, we match it up with 40 million businesses in the U.S., we build out a prospect list using AI, and they can go through there. They look at their COI, their Center of Influence account. They can literally click on a button. We'll bring over the top prospects in a templated email. They can shoot it off to their COI saying, hey, do you mind being a reference or a referral for me in these accounts that look like their key client in location and classification. And I'm telling you what, I've seen seasoned producers hit that referral button, 5, 6, 7 times inside of 5 minutes, and asking for that many referrals in that speed of time. So I think one of the core things we do, whether it's scratch, season, EB, PNC side, is helping them build that funnel as quickly as possible, whether it's through prospecting or referrals. So it's just it's been a lot of fun working with producers.
See, and that's what, even if you go out and you find a Zoom info, right? We used them as an example before, right? And they say, oh yeah, we'll get you a list of all the businesses and we'll give you all their data. They're not thinking about it from that insurance perspective. They don't know what a center of influence is. And the fact that you guys recognize what that is and have built it into unique automation geared towards producers to get them off the ground sooner than later, like that's what makes this thing so spicy. So that's fantastic.
That push to agency Zoom has been just phenomenal. It's a great product. The fact that we can push that over, especially for that scratch producer, building up that marketing cadence for them in the background, and again, just within seconds, has been a lot of fun to watch.
Man, that's fantastic. So, okay, so I guess I'll ask the big question to an entrepreneurial founder and CEO. Liri, where is Leo headed in the future, right? I mean, where do you see, I'm sure you wake up at 2 a.m., you've got big dreams and, big goals. You've built an amazing solution here. Where do you see it going in the next few years?
So I can tell you that in the near future, we are going to also have generative AI as a part of Leo. So we will take the insurance data intelligence that we got from on the prospect that you want to connect with, and we will also write an email for you using the data that we got. And then you can just send those emails through Leo. So this is something that you can do super, at a click of a button, and you will just need to approve the email. So creating more actions from Leo, this is something that we also want to do and we want to focus on. And in the next few years, we want to be the number one tool to use when you want to grow your agency. So when you're opening a new agency, or you just starting with commercial lines, or you just want to see your agency grow, you will use Leo, and it will be mandatory. And this is where we want to be.
Well, I'm excited for that day. Honestly, I'm excited for 2023, Leo. So if it's got even bigger goals, then I can't wait to see where you guys go next. Dean, question for you, sir. Would you be willing, for those of the agencies who are listening, hearing about this thing and they're curious about how it works, would you be willing to hop on a webinar, show us how it works, let people see it come to life as opposed to just hearing about it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's probably
All
the
right.
most fun thing I can do in my day is share that stuff. So I love
All right.
phone calls out of the blue and conversations through the internet. So let's do a webinar.
Awesome. All right.
One thing real quick, Sid, that I think
Yeah.
we've missed in this conversation about this product, specifically when we talk about sales producers. I don't know about everybody else. I don't want my producer sitting at their desk every day. Come in for a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the afternoon, wrap up paper, but they should be out meeting with clients, having those conversations and doing that type of stuff. Or, I realize this is a virtual world, so there's a lot that could be done at the desk, but Leo has a fantastic app on mobile app. And it's not like some of those apps where it has a pared down functionality. This is really a robust app that allows the producers to do much of the same functions that they would do at their desktop or their laptop computer. So if they're out and they happen to be scouting some different territories or something like that, they can pull up the app, zero in, and see if there's some prospects in the area for them to help to go out and cold call.
Yep, and Dean, I appreciate you bringing that up. We are, for those techies, we are NLP, meaning it's kind of like Siri for the insurance world. You can talk to the app, you can talk to the database, querying real estate agents in Arizona, something like that. So yeah, built for today's producers. Thanks, Dean.
Wonderful. Well, guys, if you're listening and you want to see more, tune in. We will be doing a webinar. Dean will be there. Maybe we can rope Scott in too, and we'll show you how Leo works, how it's coming to life inside Paradox Insurance, how Dean is making sure his sales team is not sitting at their desks doing paperwork, but they're actually out having the right conversations with the right people, because that is really the tough nugget to crack at the end of the day is making sure that you're sitting across from the right people and having those right conversations. So with that, Dean, Liri, Scott, thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have you guys on in another, who knows, 6 to 12 months, depending on when the generative AI comes out. And if we can snag you from Israel one more time, Liri.
For sure.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Love what you heard? Listen, don't stop here. We know you don't want to. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube if you love watching, and get notified as soon as new episodes come out weekly. Let's go.